Well, we were just streaming live like 4.5 hours ago, so we're here with a little sprinkle of sleep, if that's what people call it. And we're going to give some more thoughts on this Jets-Browns game, look ahead to the Patriots finale, and everything in between. Let's roll the footage. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show. Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
You know, there's this thing my daughter does. She turns 2 at the end of January, and if I go, she starts going like this and looking up curiously. And I'm curious today because I'm sort of conflicted. Like, of course, Tyson from Let's Talk Jets is joining us on the show, and I freaking love him. I just wish it was under better circumstances. So I welcome him into the abode, to the breakfast table. Hey, what's poppin', baby? But at the same time, I'm like, geez, hello. That's where I am right now, Tyson.
Good morning, my friend. Are you heavily caffeinated like I am?
Well, I'm certainly on something. That's for sure. That was able to rise us to this moment and get us in here. This is wow. We were talking about it a little off air. So Cleveland, with a win or tie, actually, they would have clinched their playoff spot last night. So whether or not they were going to make the playoffs was not, to me, the point, because it was going to happen. But the fact that it happened on the Jets' watch, like, that would have been the prideful thing for me, even though the Jets were already eliminated from the playoffs. Like, my message to the team and to me as a player on that team is, okay, you can punch your ticket, but not against us. Right. Let's go. And you get fired up for that because, again, I view the Jets and Browns as these equals. Jets, Browns, Lions, these teams that have been down in their luck for a long period of time, and they stepped over your body with all these former Jets and in an embarrassing fashion. I mean, this Jets defense looked the worst that it has all season, and then the comedy of errors with the penalties. It was there was a lot of lifelessness happening there in that game. It was tough to watch, Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, it's the primetime stage. You want to see your team show up, have passion, have pride, have intensity, be competitive. And in the first half, it was dreadful. It was embarrassing on so many different levels. And it's just like, what are we watching here? Like, it's not fun to be a Jet fan right now. It's literally not. It's like you're waiting for the next shoe to fall. Okay, how are they going to make another mistake? What's the next blunder? Coaching, player, execution, injuries, penalties, you name it, they do it. And they all contribute. And there's always that thing. It's like good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. The Jets, week in and week out, are finding ways to lose. And they are so lucky they came back last week and won that game. So you blow a 20-point lead last week and followed up with this bombshell last night. You're like, bro, like, come on. Like, even the most loyal of Woody Johnson supporters and solid supporters can't justify what we're seeing right now. So, I mean, like you, dude, I didn't want to get mad last night. I just want to see football, man. Like, we relish the time to watch this team play. And then you see that and you listen to the coach afterwards and you're like, are you serious? Like, what are we watching here? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I just went through it in my head when you were like talking about, like, man, look how terrible it was last night. I'm like, well, in my head, I immediately said, well, thank God they won last week because, boy, they got off to the great start and then obviously collapsed like a used lawn chair. And for a fleeting moment, you're like, oh boy, are the Jets really going to blow this? And for the tankathon crowd of, Jet fans are like, woo, this is great. We got an inside track to insert blue blah pick. Yep. This is going to be spectacular. But that's a part that I'm struggling with because my father, so he goes, this from my dad in here. Again, we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. On a side note, Flacco showed some wheels when he needed to, although he had to take a nap during. Is when I saw what's going on? We had a guy who was friggin' sleeping at the wheel, smacking us around. So I ask you this, Tyson, because this has been kind of a topic with Joe Flacco. So the Jets rejected him twice. He reached out during the offseason to say, hey, Want to come? Because again, the Aaron Rodgers thing had been floating out there for months, so it was unclear what was going to happen. Jets say, "Nah, we're good." He's like, "All right." Aaron Rodgers goes down. He's like, calls? Any interest? Absolutely not. Thanks. Do you think Joe Flacco would look like the same Joe Flacco? Again, we saw him last season, for Pete's sake. Would he look like the same Joe Flacco that had to step in for a Mike White in Buffalo, get strip sacked, and a lot of people accused him of being disinterested in things of that nature? Is that the Joe Flacco we would have got, or should the Jets have pursued Flacco because maybe there was still some of this magic? It just took some time, apparently.
Well, I think they should have pursued anybody other than Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, and Trevor Siemian. I mean, the way that they handle the backup quarterback position is criminal and should be a fireable offense. They won't be, but I think it was fireable because the team quit on Zach Wilson last year. To run him back this year and say, you know what, you're the backup, we're comfortable with you, is just pure lunacy. But I guess my response is I think they should have taken Flacco. But the concern you have is the offensive game, the coordinator, and the offensive line. Like, to me, a lot of this is coaching. You watch this offensive line, they don't know what they're doing. They didn't get Becton help last night. Tomlinson's whiffing on blocks. Their communication is dreadful. Blitzers are coming in unblocked. I mean, it's just ridiculous, dude. And then the play calling, it's like on 3rd and 10, it's going to be a 3-yard pass. 3rd and 8, it's going to be a 3-yard pass. 3rd and 17, 5-yard pass. This is your offense. Not many quarterbacks can be successful in it because it's way too conservative and way too predictable. We know it's going to be a dump pass to Breece Hall, right? We know all this. So would they have more faith in Flacco to say, okay, throw the ball downfield? Probably. They probably give him that luxury, but they probably can't protect them, dude. And that's the biggest problem. It's like their offensive line is so bad. But the fact that they were almost arrogant to a point, but like, we got our guys. We got Zach and Tim Boyle, who is not even an NFL quarterback. That, like, Tim Boyle's our guy. We're good. Well, meanwhile, there's so many other quarterbacks all throughout the league that are playing better than him. And you mentioned about the Cleveland Browns. They're what the Jets should have been. Yeah. They faced adversity. What did they do? They rallied around next man up. Sal used to preach that when Sal was actually an inspirational figure. Next man up. We're going to rally. We're going to do all these things. They literally quit on the season. They were arrogant. They quit on it. And they said, we're good at quarterback. No, you're not. And, Paul, we talked during the season, dude. It's like the minute Aaron Rodgers went down, that next Tuesday, it's like, bro, get somebody in here. Get another quarterback in here immediately. They waited how many weeks to get Trevor Siemian? Then how many more weeks to get him prepared? It was just like, what this? So the Flacco story is awesome. I mean, I just don't think the Jets could have protected him enough to let him do what he did last night, because he also had a running game too, man. The Jets can't run the football either. That helps a lot.
Here's the other thing that sucks. So for people who kind of assessed the Cleveland Browns before this game, Cleveland, who obviously their inspiration, their motivation, the fuel that drives them was running the football. Nick Chubb, he was the guy for this team. He goes down very early in the season. And by the way, the Browns have sucked for the last period of time running the football. They were averaging 1-2 yards a carry. Then against the Jets, we have found the fountain of youth. Here we have found the solution. They were running all over the Jets last night with all kinds of random names of guys that were not Nick Chubb, and that part was disconcerting. So I guess I ask you this: how confident do you feel? So Aaron Rodgers coming back next year. He's confirmed that, and he's hoping many years to come, as he teased it on the Amazon Prime interview right before the game. But I ask you this: how confident are you that Aaron Rodgers is going to step in here and be able to mask a lot of the problems we see? Because the undisciplined nature, while there may be some control with Aaron Rodgers probably cracking a whip to kind of get some of that reined in, I don't think you can fully control that monster, and that's just penalties. God knows everything else. How confident are you in Aaron Rodgers that he will be able to step in and try to curtail a lot of these issues? Because Rodgers hinted at that on the Pat McAfee show a bunch of weeks ago. Like, basically, that shit won't happen if I was around, for some of the problems that happened when he was obviously not fully with the team.
But isn't that the coach's job? What? But that's what's driving me crazy about this. Well, Aaron Rodgers is going to make our offensive line better, our blocking better. He's going to wipe out the penalties. He's going to hold the receivers accountable, hold this guy accountable. What are the coaches supposed to do? Seriously, I'm in a bad mood this morning. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm in a really bad mood this morning because it's like Saleh is the CEO head coach. He literally stands there and watches the game play out and then does what? He doesn't call plays. So who's being held accountable? He could literally watch Becton get roasted play after play after play and not get any help. What is he doing? So now Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy like, hey, man, you know what? Becton's getting roasted. Can we give him help now? Like, what does Hackett do?
Mm.
That's what I don't understand. So, like, and listen, there's fans a lot more positive than me because this season just worn me out. I'm exhausted with this team right now. So the new thing is Aaron Rodgers is going to come here and save the day. Is he the ultimate football savior where he can overcome all the warts we have at GM, at head coach, at offensive coordinator, at offensive line coach, and the actual players himself? Like, how much are we expecting out of him? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, and then it's just he's going to have to be a dictator to overcome all these things. And like the pre-snap penalties, bro, are ridiculous.
Those
Like,
are the most embarrassing ones. When you get 12 men on the field, when you get you're not lining up properly, that is, and I think it was Kaz who said it in the post game, like because he followed up because Saleh, he was asked about the penalties. He went,
yeah,
I got to figure it out. I got to figure it out.
I look inwards.
Yeah, that's weird. In week 17, Costello immediately follows up. Well, it's Saleh. Let's kind of reattack that one. All of these penalties, 12 men, all the ones I just listed. Well, like that seems like some fundamental stuff. Like, how do you explain that? I got to figure it out. And then he just short and then moves on to the next question.
It's a weekly thing, though. It's not like this is an anomaly. This happens every week. 10 penalties, 12 penalties. Like the one series yesterday, it was like 2nd and 1, then it was 2nd and 6, then it was 3rd and 6. On 4th down, they got another penalty. And it's like, what? Like, you watch it, and this, like, I'm an older fan, dude. This reminds me of Kotite days. Yeah. It's like clearly a comedy of errors. It really is. I mean, what do you think, though? Do you think that Aaron Rodgers can really overcome all of this and make this team an 11-win team next year and make a legit run in the playoffs?
I need to see the plan for the offseason. I am, again, a very optimistic guy. I proclaim to be the most optimistic Jets fan in the universe of being able to see it. So, like, when Rodgers was talking last night, and if we had more time, I would play the full clip, but it's like a 2-minute clip. I tweeted out from the Amazon Prime interview yesterday, and it was basically of, okay, Tony Gonzalez, the Hall of Fame tight end, best tight end of all time, he asked old Rodgers, like, okay, you say you want to probably add pieces to the team. What are you talking about? And he goes through the entire roster and then on what he likes about the team currently, what needs work, and he's very specific about his plan. And after I heard that, and in the middle of that hoopla, he says, I don't think there's a lot of holes here. Again, reload. So I think there are things that a good to great quarterback can mask. And we see it all the time where teams will have issues here, there, or otherwhere. And the quarterback's in, you're like, I didn't notice that as much. He's getting rid of the ball quicker. He's doing this. He's making slight adjustments here or there. So from that perspective, I believe it will be innately better. But boy, I feel like the offensive line, Mekhi Becton, good Lord have mercy, to be most sacks allowed in the league. And then we're going back to Wayne Hunter. That's the sack allowage that we've had from Becton. I'm like, Wayne Hunter, that's a name I haven't thought about in a decade. And then all of a sudden, and then the penalties are terrible. So he's having those issues. Dwayne Brown's going to retire. So you have those two starting tackles from week 1 likely gone. That's at least 2 pieces gone. Lakin, I don't know what he was doing on that Trevor Siemian QB sneak.
He whiffed.
And Damian Woody, again, love that former Jet. He said the linemen should have all been in their 4-point stances for this QB sneak. And then Tomlinson almost hurt Joe Tittman with how he dove out of the way, which was weird. And Simeon immediate contact. And I just, some of that part of the equation where you have to replace 3 offensive linemen and hope AVT is back fully healthy, 60% of your line, and we're not even talking about depth. You need a wide receiver too. The tight end, I think you need another tight end in the room. They're going to move on from Uzama. You need another veteran in the room because I think you're going to have Brees. I think you're going to have Gap, and then you're going to have Izzy. So who the hell is RB2? Is it one of the Packer boys? Is it A.J. Dillon? Is it Aaron Jones if he gets dumped to add another Green Bay dude to the room? There's just so many questions. So long story short, to answer your question, I'm always going to have positivity and optimism. When we're going through the offseason, I'm going to get hyped up again.
Yeah, of course.
Like, okay, here we go. Okay, we're going to do this thing. All right. But, I need to see the plan first. I need to see the plan because right now I don't see the plan. And here's the other thing. Saleh told Albert Breer, I fully expect my entire staff back intact. And I thought, okay, like, after Woody Johnson says his thing, Rodgers says his thing. Okay, the main characters are coming back. Saleh, Douglas, Hackett. Okay, totally. Okay, fine. That's the path you're going down. Excellent. Okay, I understand. But now I ask you, Tyson, do you believe Saleh's just saying that? Because again, if you, Tyson, you come to me and I'm at my job, you say, hey, do you expect your staff back? Absolutely. Because that's what you're supposed to say. If you don't, no, I don't. like that opens the door, obviously, for firings, all kinds of things. Is that just company line, or do you really buy that the Jets, or at least he plans on it, and we'll see what else happens, that he plans on it being fully back, or was he just talking, saying the right thing at the right time, but actually people are going to be fired this offseason? What do you think?
I think he's saying the right things. He had 3 games left. He's got to say that. If he's going to say, well, there's going to be changes, the coaches on the staff be like, you know what, start making phone calls. We got to start finding our next destination, stuff like that.
That's what I thought as well. But a lot of people have really jumped down his throat on that one. That one I thought was just him being a nice guy. Like, no, of course. Because, like, if you get asked, it's like, you know, if you're like standing next to the guy you're getting fired, right? You go, hey, Paul, is everything great here? Yeah, everything's great here, as far as I know. You know what I mean?
It's like that subject to change little disclaimer you get. I think that. But the one thing I wanted to ask you about is, and listen, you know what? I have so much respect for you, dude, because you do such a great job day in and day out with content. You're cranking out great content all the time. Your commitment to the team is unmatched. It really is, dude. Like what you do is amazing, and your positivity is amazing. This is how I wanted to ask you this, because like I said, I'm admittedly really negative right now. I'm just pissed off. So you have everybody has this great vision. Next year is going to be an all-in year for the Jets. 2024, Rodgers is back, staff is back, all this. Is it legitimately a desirable location for free agents when you have a GM on the hot seat, a head coach on the hot seat, Aaron Rodgers potentially with 1 year left? He's selling us 2 or 3 years, but there's also financial incentives too, where he wants to hit to make sure he gets paid. But is it really, if you're a free agent and you're coming to a losing culture, no playoffs in 13 years, and you're also the pressure of we better win this year, you know they're going to get blown up. Is it really a desirable location? Take the money out of it. Like, do you think players really, and the MetLife turf? Do players, do you think, honestly, next year with Aaron Rodgers recruiting, that they're a desirable location for the top free agents in the NFL?
I think it's split, and that's a shitty political answer. But if you think about it, so here's the one thing they have going for them. Last year, it was speculation. It was informed speculation, perhaps, that Aaron Rodgers was eventually going to come here. But there were multiple free agents. Calais Campbell is one of them. He spoke with Josine Anderson on her podcast. He said, not knowing the Rodgers thing, like him calling me and singing me sweet pleasantries. I'm going to be there. It's going to be this. I'm going to be this. But he said, as he's hanging in the balance of, okay, they've got Zach Wilson right now. He didn't say this verbatim, but like they've got Zach Wilson right now. Or I can go with something I believe in, and Arthur Blank, the Falcons owner, sold him on the plan of Desmond Ridder and God knows who else. But so he was waffling, going, I don't know, man. Like, is Rodgers actually going to be there? He's just one example of apparently several NFL free agents who were like, I'm not so sure. They didn't get him officially to the week of the draft, which is late April. Free agency is not done because you could sign anyone at any time, but the majority bulk is gone. The good news for this year is that Rodgers is the guy. He is, plus from the health perspective, that'll even help even more, that he should be pretty involved from an offseason training program that he wasn't able to, obviously, last year to the full extent. So him being on the team, for me, I think immediately helps the recruiting pitch. You know exactly what's happening here. The Jets are very clear and determined, at least with that portion of the exam, that they're all in. They have Rodgers and that. But to your point, obviously, you see that, and then you kind of peek behind. You're on like one of those acting sets. You see like the flapboard of the mountains. Wow, that's pretty beautiful. Wait a second. That's wait, that's not real. That's fake. Wait. This is being Hollywooded up here. So like that will scare off some people, no doubt about it. But I'll bring up an example from a coach, Eric Bieniemy, right? He leaves the safety of the Chiefs' kingdom, right? And he goes to Washington. Everyone and their blue mother knew that the Washington situation, if it went south, that whole thing was blowing up. Plus the volatility of the ownership situation, all of that. And Eric Bieniemy stepped out of safety zone, and maybe he forever has a job with the Chiefs, so maybe it's a little easier of a risk to do it. I guess we'll see what happens. But like, to me, that's one of those things where you know what's going to happen. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. But he goes, well, but the positive is this: if I go over there and coach up the friggin' Washington Commanders, my resume boosts up. And by the way, they actually did a very respectable job from all the numbers perspective offensively this year. We'll see what that garners him, any respect from being away from the Chiefs Kingdom thing. But that's how I look at it. There will be some that are scared, but I think there will be others like Eric Bieniemy that see opportunity and say, getting a chance to ride it out with Aaron Rodgers, that might be a championship. Although all the Jets stuff, I heard Green Bean make a rant on Instagram the other day, free agents, stay away, don't come here, because of all these things that happen when you're with the Jets. But I think it is split. But I do think, again, having Aaron Rodgers immediately at the beginning of the offseason is an absolute game changer that did not exist last year. And I don't think a lot of people give that credence because he was penciled in as the Jets guy forever. I just don't think he got the same love because he literally wasn't here.
Yeah, I just worry about like the perceived stability. You know, like if you're T. Higgins, right? It's like, all right, you're going to get big money no matter where he goes. You're taking money out of the equation. Then it's like, I want winning. I want, stability. I want long-term success. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be 1 year or 3 years? How many years are he giving me? Meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs are desperate for wide receiver. They are going to sell their soul for help a wide receiver. So then you're going to be competing with them. Do you want to play with Mahomes or Rodgers? Like things like that where teams, it's like, I don't like, that's why like all these Jet fans, not all these Jet fans are excited. Like, we're going to get T. Higgins. We're going to trade for Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, all this. That's the perfect world. My problem is when that perfect world doesn't happen, what's the plan B? Because Joe Douglas's plan B in the past hasn't been good. Starting at the tackle position. Tackle's been a disaster. Yeah. So now it's like, we got to get offensive linemen. You just said it. We may need 3. You know who needs offensive linemen? The entire NFL needs offensive linemen. Yeah. So I remember I was old enough to remember Joe Thuney. He's a lock to be a Jet, right? He is going to be a lock. The Jets lead the league in, we were interested. The Jets were heavily interested. They made their best offer, right? Yeah. With Orlando Brown, all these guys. So my frustration is Joe Douglas has had how many years to figure this out on offensive line? 3 years, 4 years, do this.
He is in his 5th year now.
Right.
So,
and now it's another year of like, well, he needs 3 more offensive linemen. My fear is it's not going to be as easy as everybody thinks. If it's not going to be that easy, then it comes down to coaching again. And then I'm coming full circle where it's like, all right, we saw this year, we saw last year, not very good. Different coordinator on offense with Hackett. But I mean, and what are your thoughts on Hackett? Because I guess the excuse is going to be he needs a competent NFL quarterback to run his offense. That's going to be the excuse. But then, he had to cater his offense to Zach once Aaron Rodgers went out. And to me, I think that's nonsense because you adapt every week in the NFL, man. Like you have to. You see the Colts do it, Minshew. You saw the Browns last night do it. You got to be on the fly here and do things quickly. Do you literally have faith in Hackett, who really hasn't proven a lot as a coordinator? He had great years with Rodgers, but he wasn't calling the plays. Like, what do you think about him?
I have zero faith in Nathaniel Hackett. I'm just going to be blunt. I'm just going to lay it right there on the line. There's no dancing around this bush. But the good news is that Aaron Rodgers, as far as I'm concerned, is the offense coordinator. Nathaniel Hackett, Spider Watu Banana. Rodgers like, okay, goes to huddle. Yeah, fuck that. You heard that, boys? Fuck that. We're running a Guatemalan kerfluffle. And they're like, okay, and break. Like, so that's what's going to happen. He Nathaniel Hackett's going to be like, Bluebird 22 Red Cobra. He's like, okay. And he gets a huddle, lines them all up, and then goes, you over here. Yeah, you get your ass there. You there. Hey, yeah, Mike, by the way, is 52 right there in the middle. Okay, let's. And then a lot of backyard football. Get in the huddle again. Call comes in. He's like, yeah, we're going to just circle this. Hey, you're going to run one of these. Okay, great. Let's go. So, like, that's to me. He's the offensive coordinator. Nathaniel Hackett will have it in title. And also the other part of the backdoor nature of the Saleh fully intact staff, I thought that there was a chance that maybe they could bring someone else in the room. Maybe he's still offense coordinator or associate head coach, and you bring in somebody else. But the problem is that can get awkward because you either have to fully buy in or get out. If you start, kind of being a little wishy-washy, saying, okay, we're bringing everybody back, but we're going to also bring this guy in the room. We're going to bring in a weird marriage counselor. He's just going to be sitting in the corner, but he's also going to be helping the process. That could throw off the entire thing. So the Jets have to stay pot committed here. If obviously that's a decision they're making. So like, okay, if that's what you're going to say, that we need to fully invest and fully go in from coaching, player, and everything perspective. So the Rodgers piece of the puzzle makes me feel a lot more confident that he can just, because he's done it before. He won 2 MVPs with Hackett being in the room and part of the conversation. And I get it. He was not calling plays. So he's calling plays this time. That's a difference. But as we've seen from a very colorful Aaron Rodgers on the sideline, a few times when calls come in, he's like, okay. So that to me gives me a lot of love that will be fixed. So I throw it back to you, Tyson, for this. So you're talking about the faith of fans going, oh, man, they're definitely going to get insert sexy guy. Somewhere where some people are not having faith is the backup quarterback situation. So there's a couple of guys are going to be out there: Gardner Minshew, Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Tannehill has been another one that's been thrown out there in the universe. Will the Jets be able to lure one in? And I feel like the only way they potentially could is if they make him the highest paid backup quarterback in history, because outside of that, I mean, if I was a backup quarterback, I want to come to the Jets. And the reason being, the Jets have gone 8 straight seasons utilizing at least one backup quarterback. The last quarterback that started a full season, started every game of the year, was Ryan Fitzpatrick in 2015. And even he, in the Raiders game, got injured after starting, but he still notched the start off the bucket list, and then he came back the following week. So he's the only quarterback that's done it. So 8 season guaranteed. Jet fans have said, hey, backup quarterback, come on down. Price is right. They're in. They're involved. So that's like the big thing for me, because the big thing was, oh, man, this is the Aaron Rodgers run show coming up with the season that we're currently still in the middle of. He goes there like, ah, shit, well, that was fun. Like, next year, there's no way you can do that again. The entire quarterback room is going to get blown up. It's going to be Rodgers, insert veteran, and then rookie. But, like, man, that veteran better have some chutzpah. I can't have a Nick Mullins, like someone floated that to me. I'm like, Nick Mullins? No. I need a guy that is proven. He's got a resume. He has done things in the league. I don't want some random Nick Mullins cast off. That's not going to do it for you. That's going to be a loss. If they say, Paul, here's the backup quarterback they got, I'm like, okay, they failed. They did not get the proper backup quarterback. That inspires me zero. That's the part of the equation where some fans are debating. Some fans think they will be able to get somebody. Some fans think they won't. Tyson?
Bro, well, this is the conversation we had last year. We had this conversation in August. We literally said that. You said the theory was the Jets are a quarterback away. Okay, you got it, Aaron Rodgers. If, God forbid, he goes down, who's the backup to win a couple games until he comes back? Not thinking, you know what, Jets luck out for the season. Here we go. But that was the thing. Like, just keep us relevant until Aaron Rodgers comes back. This year, it's like an ultimate lesson learned. Like, you now see the value, especially in the NFL, Paul, where look at how many starting quarterbacks get hurt every week. It's a war of attrition. So you cannot pinch pennies. You've got to spend the money. I don't care how much money you lose with Zach Wilson. Don't care. Not my problem. You've got to get a legitimate, proven backup quarterback. If you have to pay more, pay more. Like, this is where you have to spend your money. I mean, you wasted how much money on Dalvin Cook? You don't want to waste money on him? Waste money on a backup quarterback. It's not even waste. It's actually it's a good commodity to have.
I don't think Dalvin played a snap last night, by the way. I do not believe so.
Which is absurd. You look at Joe Douglas's free agency. Don't get me started on that.
Boy.
But look at the back. Like, they have to put a premium on it. If Aaron Rodgers is making phone calls, make phone calls to your buddies that play quarterback. Hey, man, come with me. You're gonna love this offense. You know, like, come play. If it's a 1 year, who cares? But all the guys you named, dude, I'm with you. Any of them. But Nick Mullins doesn't do it for me. Don't go to the bottom of the heap. Go for the top guys, man. Like, you know, the thing is, like, Minshew's probably gonna want to get paid like a starter now. He's gonna want big money. They could have had him this year, of course, but you gotta spend the money, man. You have no choice.
Yeah, we'll see. Rich Cimini was on ESPN radio in New York last night ahead of the Jets-Browns game. He said the Jets have, quote-unquote, had their eye on this guy for a while, and that guy he was referencing was Jacoby Brissett. Apparently, he and Rodgers have some sort of relationship. I'm not quite sure what that is, but they have some sort of relationship. He's a guy like, okay, that kind of checks it off. This guy has wild amounts of experience, and he's proven in multiple different places. Indy, Washington, Cleveland, or New England for spurts, that, like, when he gets called upon, he's not a total embarrassment. He could do something. He provides some level of mobility and can kind of move the ball around. So that, to me, is where the Jets just need to again, we go back to the confidence of the season. I would feel a lot better because, like, you know, anyone who's not Aaron Rodgers is not Aaron Rodgers. But like, shoot, like, with 8 straight seasons of using a backup quarterback, I am now convinced until proven otherwise. And now the seasons are longer than they first were back in 2016 days. Like, boy, that guy's coming in. I need to feel confident about that guy to feel confident about plan A, because you can't get to plan A without the potential of plan B to be right there at the side and the cusp and the gun holster. That part, to me, is where I start to go, okay, there's just a lot of shit. I think most of the love this offseason needs to go to the offense, the draft picks, the free agency, the everything. There is some alterations. Again, you have to figure out the safety thing. Jordan Whitehead out, Ashton Davis a free agent, interior defensive line, Quentin Jefferson, Al Woods. Could Al Woods retire? Do you bring back Quentin Jefferson? You know, so there's a couple of pieces there you kind of have to shuffle and move. And the Jets, speaking of luck, they've been lucky the last 2 years. They've avoided major 100%. Injury. Everyone forgets about the Chuck Clark injury in the offseason. I think that was big from a glue perspective. I thought he was going to be a really solid guy for this team. You lose Al Woods. So you've lost a couple of dudes. Quentin Jefferson was another one. You lost a couple of dudes this year. So you've avoided the major injury, like no Sauce, no, anyone too crazy. That's the big pivot point, though, of they may need a little sprinklings of safety, defense on this, but offense, and all the resources and assets need to be poured into this offense for them to have a legitimate shot. We can't take Will McDonald 15th overall again and have that kind of player who played like 2 snaps last night or something. Rich Samini, I think, tweeted it out right before we hopped on. Like, there's just no friggin' way. That was an arrogant pick. There's no more arrogancy anymore. You have to address the clear needs on this team to have a fighting chance. Absolutely.
And you have historically one of the worst offenses in football right now, right? Yeah. You can make an argument. You need 3 offensive linemen. I think Tomlinson should be gone. You can get more bang for your buck elsewhere. But you mentioned it. Uzama could be gone. Conklin's been decent, but Ruckert's banged up. You need 3 linemen, probably a tight end, probably a running back, and you desperately need wide receiver help. Gibson has shown good things. Alan Lazard, colossal bust. Randall Cobb should be gone. They traded away McCole Hardman. So you need playmakers, man. Like,
who do you want? Who do you want? There's a lot of receivers out there. There's Draft, there's Trey, there's Devontae Adams, there's Higgins, there's Evans, Pittman Jr., a lot of dudes. Who do you want?
But the problem is I don't think Devontae Adams is going to come here. And I think the Jets don't have a second-round pick. Are you giving up a top 10 pick for Devontae Adams?
Definitely not. But then, why would the Raiders do it then? Because, that's where we get to immediately. Yeah.
So then that Devontae Adams, to me, is a problem. I don't think T. Higgins comes here. Mike Evans would make the most sense because he's older. He's in a win-now mode. He has the whole Brady thing. But he's vibing with Baker Mayfield down in Tampa Bay. What if Baker Mayfield comes back? They say, you know what? You can retire a buck. Here's the money that we should have gave you this year. Stay. Like, that's where I had the problems, where I'm thinking, you know what? It may have to be the draft. That's where you're, that's where you kind of want that top 10 pick, and then you got to maneuver around and get a guy there. But any playmakers, man. And then the thing is too, is running back too. Like, Izzy is okay, but you still need a number 2 back, a legitimate back behind Breece Hall, who looks much better now coming as the season goes on. But man, it's like I wouldn't be mad at all if your entire offseason was all offense. I wouldn't be bothered.
I wouldn't either.
I mean, and like on defense, they have a lot of young guys. Like Tony Adams is coming into his own, dude. Tony Adams, definitely. Like,
I should have had that pick early in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like that, there's at some point, like the defense can't keep carrying the team. At some point, the offense has got to start carrying them and return to the standards of the NFL, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's where we need to go. I see we got a super chat in here, and we'll end on that and another nugget. Someone asked about the tanking. I'll let you know the Jets currently, by the way, have the 8th overall pick. That's temporary because we have to see what happens with the Bears. Obviously, the Jets have played this game. The Bears haven't. Now, if everything breaks right for the Jets, there's a chance they could be picking with the 5th overall pick by the end of this weekend before even getting potentially into Week 18. But the teams you got to root for are, of course, the Giants, Chargers, and Titans. And then, of course, like I said, the Bears as well, because if the Bears lose, they win the strength of schedule tiebreaker. The Jets would win over all of those other teams I mentioned, except for the Giants. They would tie with the Giants. So that is where we have to see potentially where this goes. And then I just got this super chat in, so we'll answer this one real quick from Phil. Curious, how good is Brock Bowers? Who does he compare to? So the Jets have flirted with the tight end thing a lot over the years. There was it was the Jamal Adams year. They could have taken O.J. Howard. There's a lot of hoopla about that. There was a potential trade up. I can't remember if that was the Hawkinson year, but there was chatter that they could trade back up into the late top 10 to get him if he started to slip or something. So there's been a couple of tight end stuff. Do you hate that? Because Brock Bowers, of course, the Georgia tight end, everyone says he's a generational prospect, something crazy. And there's been some chatter that either it may happen because of where if the Jets, let's say they pick right now, they're 8th. Let's for shits and giggles, let's just say they stay at 8, and then you miss the run, which seems to be there's the 2 great offensive linemen, the 2 quarterbacks, you have Marvin Harrison, and then there's some other pieces too. But basically, you get those blue chippers at the beginning, and then the Jets might be fucked one way to Sunday to either pick 3 or 4 at any of those positions, or you get Brock Bowers as a tight end. So you're in the perfect place of, damn, we just missed everything. Oh, we could have this. Any interest whatsoever?
That's an interesting one. I mean, you're talking to a guy that wanted the kid from Notre Dame last year. So,
ooh, okay. Mayer. I wanted Mayer too, man.
It's like, because you have that huge, enormous target in the middle of the field, that guy, the great athlete, size, athletic ability, all that. That's a game changer on the offense, man. It literally is. And it's a mismatch. It's a nightmare for the defense. So if you have really good receivers, you had that in the middle, it's like, get the best weapon you possibly can for this offense. And like you said, that's my fear in this draft, is we're in no man's land again. Same thing as last year, where you're like, you know what? All the guys we want are now gone. Now what do you do? If you can't go defense, because if you go defense, I'm just gonna we're gonna have all kinds of problems, right? But I mean, it's a legitimate, like I remember the OJ Howard conversations. He hasn't really panned out, and then the Kyle Pitts was another one way back when.
Pitts, yes, that's right.
Another one.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if your best receiver is gone, your best offensive tackles are gone, and that's your best position player available on offense, why not? I mean, I'm down. Like, and you figure what Rodgers can do with him too. He's learning one of the best quarterbacks. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. And I think that should be like an extra incentive, an extra part of the evaluation process. You know, this kid's not playing with Zach Wilson. This kid's playing with Aaron Rodgers. Like, all of a sudden your level of evaluation changes, and their entire mindset, quite frankly. Again, draft is never normally about the season of which is why the Jets pound the table about Will McDonald. But like, with this mindset of holy shit, we got a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year run, but like you can only focus on a year-to-year basis because Aaron Rodgers is older, so you don't know truly. What if he gets injured again? Then it's over. So you're focusing on this year run. Maybe that's where Brock Bowers again tantalizes some of those things. But we'll see. We'll see.
I got one more question for you though.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I legitimately love talking football with you, man.
I do, man.
For hours we could just talk.
We got to do a new show. We got to do a new show.
I love this. So what are your thoughts on, because Aaron Rodgers as a recruiter, when he recruits, it's usually guys that he knows from Green Bay. So the name that we keep hearing, which is already driving me insane, is Bakhtiari at left tackle, who injury prone, clearly one of his best friends. You have him, Tunyon, Aaron Jones. If they go down that route, just say the Bakhtiari for tackle, like that can't be your A plan, right?
You nailed it right there. I see everyone losing their shit about Bakhtiari, who, by the way, still has 1 year left on his deal, but he's expected to be released by the Green Bay Packers. And again, like best friends with Aaron Rodgers. When people say it, oh, disgusting. That would be the most awful thing of all time. I agree if that's your plan A, you just highlighted it. But plan B, he's his best friend, probably going to come on a discount to come F around with his buddy, grab a couple of cold brewskis and just hop in there and be a guy. When he's healthy, and I think because he hasn't been healthy, he's missed something like 40-something games over the last 3 years. Like it's a wild number of the games that he's missed. And it's hard to see, sometimes the trees and forest conversation when you're in the middle of all that jazz. The fact of the matter is when he's healthy, he's been a first-team All-Pro twice. When he's been healthy, at worst, he's been a second-team All-Pro 3 times. Like this dude, when healthy, is spectacular. So if he's not plan A, if he's six man off the bench, if he's that guy, let's all of a sudden say David Bakhtiari is your swing tackle. All of a sudden, not too shabby. If that's one of the guys in the room, I would be livid if he was plan A. Like they signed him to be left tackle. They're like, well, that's fixed. That's how hell no. But that's how I view. So Rich Samini last Sunday, a couple days ago, tweets out this Aaron Rodgers watch list. Bakhtiari's on it. Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, John Runyon, Robert Tunyon, all these names. And people are like, ugh, Packers people initiate gag reflex. And I go, well, if those guys are depth, I've got zero problem with it. Aaron Jones is an RB2. Okay. AJ Dillon, like, again, I remember back in college here in ACC country, when I saw him in college, he was a beast. He's been a little lackluster in the NFL. So there would have to be a proper evaluation. But when you get a 250-pound bleeping running back, that could be a wonderful compliment to a guy like Breece Hall. But again, that's got to be on their pro personnel staff to properly evaluate if he's good to go. But Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon as a backup, okay. John Runyon, interior offensive lineman, as an option choice, as some sort of depth, okay. Robert Tunyon is tight end 2-3. All right. So I think people are losing their shit because they see that and they would go, oh, that must be the Aaron Rodgers wish list. That must be all the starters. If that is the plan, I agree with all those people. Disgusting. Shove my finger in the back of my throat. But as depth options, as I viewed it, as soon as I saw the watches meal, I'm like, okay, sign me up. That works for me because that can't be the plan A plan. But if it is part of the overall picture of just, because I would stock the cupboards with everything that I could and then maximize it. And then if injury happens, okay, not the end of the world. This piece out, this piece in. Because that's another part of circling all the way back to Cleveland. to wrap this up is that on the Cleveland side of things, the things that frustrate me is they started 4 quarterbacks, yet the Jets are whining excuses. The Browns lost both of their starting tackles, yet we're whining about the injuries. And again, the Jets and Browns are actually pretty close on the offensive line combinations. The Jets have had 13, Browns have had 10 heading into last night's game. So they've both had a lot. But you go through some of these and you're like, they didn't whine or complain. They coached their ass off. Kevin Stefanski specifically is our offensive guy, freaking took this train and let it roll while we were kind of whining about excuses, throwing our hands and yeah, things happen. Okay. Like I'm like, as a fan, I'm like, that's disgusting. My eyes are open. I am seeing these other teams overcoming injuries, yet we're folding like a used lawn chair over here. I'm like, what the hell is going on over here? So to bring that full circle, again, as depth options, those are fine. But the Jets just need to have options at all of these key positions. And if you can use Aaron Rodgers' magic, and even if that's all that it goes to, is the magic of ensuring depth at all these places with all his old buddies, fine with me. And then Joe Douglas, oh yeah, you got to do your job now of actually
100%.
getting guys in here with what you're supposed to be doing. The Rodgers thing is a benefit. It's an extra luxury item. You know, you're going through a hotel service like, and we're going to throw this in for free on the side. That's what happened with Aaron Rodgers, throwing a little shish kebab on the side for you. But Joe Douglas, no, do your friggin' job, man. That's now what you have to do is bring guys in creative ways, trade, free agency, God knows what, to fill holes on this team. So that to me ultimately has to come back to homeostasis at the end of the day.
No, I completely agree with you. Like the names are great, but as long as they're depth, like Billy Turner is not the answer at any position, but he's depth. Like Bakhtiari is what he is. So don't sell us, don't pass this, Bakhtiari and like he's not a Porsche, man. He's a little bit down now. He's but that's going to be most interesting, man, is see how they handle this offseason, how they attack it, who actually wants to come here. Will they spend the money? How aggressive will they be? Trade market's going to be tough when you don't have a second round pick. And I guess my other fear is, are they legitimately going to sell their soul for next year and kind of hinder themselves down the line, 2025, 2026, because it's about, you want to have short-term success and long-term success. You don't want to, that's my biggest problem I had right now is Woody Johnson is desperate. He knows his fan base is pissed off. He raised ticket prices during the season. That blew up during his face. Like everything's blowing up. So when in times like this, he wants headlines, positivity, and he gets kind of aggressive here. So it's gonna be interesting, man. I'm concerned. I'm nervous. I probably have less faith than most people just because I'm just bitter.
Yeah.
Right. It's just it's hard, man. Like, be honest, dude. As a content creator, this has got to be last year was rough. This year's been one of the roughest years, dude. It really has been.
It's funny because so before the season starts, I'm having a conversation with a couple content creators behind the scenes, and I'm like, oh man, like this is going to be great. And they take a step further. They're like, no, this is not going to be great. This is going to change all of our lives. And I'm like, excuse me, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, Aaron Rodgers being on this team and the draw that will have on anything and everything we do is going to take us to such another level. And this, some of the content creators are talking about, they're like, I think I might quit my job to put myself in because we're just going to be rolling. I'm like, wow, Jesus, good Lord have mercy. Okay, that I thought I had faith. All righty, that's what I'm talking about, baby. Okay, so they were just so fired up from that perspective, and then to have everything that has happened happen is just wow, yeah. I was just thinking about that because obviously, we got one game left. That's it. It's a New England Patriots finale, which comes up next Sunday. Then all of a sudden, off season, we're just dropped at the doorstep. Wait, weren't we just here? What? Where am I? How did this happen? So, now we're immediately going to be back in it. And again, it's going to be just like turning it. Syracuse used to have this Syracuse football, this shitty siren. And then when they scored a touchdown, they just tried to crank this thing and just with two hands. And then it just you'd think maybe you heard it was terrible, a terrible choice by the Syracuse but they just tried to, and then you heard a, and I'm like, oh, well, what is that? And it's just it's almost like the Viking horn, or the conch of Ron Burgundy. Team assemble. And I'm like, now everyone's going to come. Going to come. That's the plan, basically, I guess, for this offseason. So let's end there, Tyson. New England Patriots, Week 18. What do you want to happen? Because as I look at this, let me pull it up. Okay, so New England currently picks 4th overall. Jets pick 8th overall. Again, there's still the rest of this weekend to determine where everyone's going to ultimately kind of settle before heading to Week 18. Does the draft thing give you any trepidation, for lack of a better word, of boy, if we beat the Patriots, boy, we probably set them up for something? Or do you not give a flying hoot about any of that? Just beat their ass and let's go. Let's send Belichick out with a nice firm kick on the keister.
This is the ultimate Jets scenario. This is
It's lose-lose.
It really is, because you figure you want to get rid of that losing streak, which is terrible.
Yeah.
You'd love to send Belichick out on a loss at home. That would be awesome. At the same time, you beat them, you're probably going to give them a draft pick where they can get their quarterback of the future, right? Yeah. That's probably what's going to happen. So that's like, oh, remember when you beat them in 2023? Well, now we got our quarterback to beat their ass for the next 10 years. Yeah, it's like, it's the ultimate lose-lose, man. I hate the Patriots. I hate losing. Mm-hmm. But at this point, it's like, I don't even know. Like, you don't even, it's a meaningless game. And like, a part of me wonders, like, if Saleh loses this game, if you lose to New England twice in the same year again, up there when they're terrible, to Zappy, does Woody Johnson be like, you know what? This could be a problem now, because we just got embarrassed against the Browns. We lost to the Patriots again. We can't win our division games.
He did it with Mangini. I'm sure you remember. He
100%.
said, no, you're safe. You're good. You're good. Then boom, emotional, you're out. And that's how Rex Ryan
Woody Johnson's a reactional dude. And you look on his social media, he's the big uniform guy. Oh, we're in a green and green. Look like pickles tonight. Great. And then you see all the comments just ripping Woody Johnson. And he hates negativity, dude. He hates bad press. That's the one thing he's a meddlesome owner. He really is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you wonder today, the aftermath of today is already big. He's already like, all right, how do we fix this mess? Mm-hmm. But they lose to the Patriots, dude. You got to be really like, all right, I love Aaron Rodgers, but this is going to be a problem. I can't sell tickets with this nonsense.
No.
But I mean, and it's just, do you want to break the losing streak when you have like a bad version of the Patriots? Does it make you feel any better?
Well, here's the thing. My dandelions visions of sugar plums and everything else was, man, week 3 it was. I'm like, Aaron Rodgers is going to grab this rusty steel pipe. We're going to beat the Patriots 54-14, the same way they smacked us around. Yes. And it's just going to be like, no mercy. No mercy. And just beat the shit out of him. That's how I saw it in my head as I was dreaming. And I'd wake up like, oh yeah, baby, can't wait for that. Rodgers goes down. I'm like, son of a bitch. So now we're heading to the end of the season. Do I want the streak to end in the shitty way where it's a zappy, garbage ass Patriots team and a garbage trash Jets team at the end of this run? Like, I saw it with Rodgers. So like a certain part of me, like, wherever they would schedule that next season, week 2, week 3, week 4, whatever, like, for Rodgers to go in there and go, oh yeah, you see this streak, and just beat the crap out of him. But also for it to finally end and just be like, then it just dies, then it's over. Like, it would be kind of nice just to slay the dragon, and now it's over. Now we can kind of breathe, get that monkey off our back, and now we just kind of enter. It was kind of like when the Jets had that record. I can't even remember now what it was. The AFC East losing streak of like 19 games in a row or something pathetic, and they finally ended it. It was that Dolphins. Now I remember it was the Dolphins week 5 game where the Jets went crazy. Teddy Bridgewater got hurt on the sauce corner blitz right off the beginning. Skylar Thompson came in. We beat their ass, and it was a blowout. And Dolphins were like, it's only a blowout because quarterback injury. I'm like, screw you, pal. I don't care. Like, it was just over. So maybe at the end of the day, as I've talked myself all the way around it, just end it, beat it, and then see where it is. Thankfully, like I said, the Patriots have helped us out a little, at least with their own wins, that they've kind of kept themselves out of the number 1 pick conversation. So there is some line of demarcation here. So it's not literally, well, at this point, we'll see what happens this weekend, but it's not literally beat them and then you send them right there. At this current point, there are a couple of teams ahead of them. So hopefully it stays that way, because I'd like them to not have a chance at one of those top 2 quarterbacks. Yeah,
I mean, the loss early in the year, to me, it still overpowers what they do last week of the season, because that's when the Jets were, you're still, peak of your season, got to make a run. And when they lost that game, then the questions all started. We're like, you know what? We got problems here, because now Zach is back to being Zach. What are we going to do? Can we win games? And you knew at that moment, that's a big blow to your playoff chances, because that's a division loss against a bad team, all this stuff. So that loss kind of like, you win this game now, it's meaningless. Patriots mailed it in. They're done. Belichick's going to leave. They're a complete rebuild. So you win it, like, all right, you feel like, oh yeah, we beat the streak. Yeah, but it's not the powerful statement you really want. You want that, like you said, you want that Aaron Rodgers 4-touchdown game, giving you the finger, be like, that's right, we're back, you're gone, let's go.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of like it's like a typical Jet thing, dude. It's like, it's just, we can't, like, even when we have nice things, they're not really nice things, right? When you win, you lose. That's where we're at right now.
That's a lose-lose that I do hate, because honestly, people, if we're being honest with ourselves, if the Jets beat the Patriots, the Jets are idiots for helping out the Patriots tank. If they lose to the Patriots, you're idiots, and you continue to lose to the same team over and over again. You guys suck. And I'm just like sitting here like, what the fuck? Like, as we're looking ahead at this thing, I'm like, what in God's green earth? So like, no matter what, we're effed. So I'm like, well, all right, let's just roll in and see whatever happens,
It
I
never
guess.
ends,
And,
man.
you know,
It
it's
never
just,
ends.
unbelievable. Tyson, we do have to do this more often, my friend, and hopefully we get a lot more dips as we get to the offseason. I love talking to you, man. It's always a hoot as far as I'm concerned, pal. And I
Bro, I'm
appreciate
telling
it.
you, I have so much respect for you, man. You crank out content every friggin' day. It's legitimate. It's high quality. It's entertaining. All the things you do on Twitter, man, or X, whatever the hell it's called these days. Bro, but seriously, dude, I have so much respect for you. And like, I could talk to you for hours. Like, I literally look forward to this because it's just like two guys hanging out, shooting the shit. And it's like, it's entertaining and you know your stuff. So, dude, keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm honored to be on your show, man. I really appreciate the opportunity, dude, because this is so much fun.
Tyson of Let's Talk Friggin' Jets. It's just Let's Talk Jets, but I like adding some extra chutzpah, a little extra mustard to that sandwich. So make sure you guys hit him up on all the social medias, YouTube, obviously, and of course on the Twitter sphere as well. And we're going to have to do this again. I am fired up. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do fired up at 8:20 in the morning when the rest of my house is sleeping. So I'm going to have to do something with all this energy that's now pouring out of all my pores here, but I will figure that out on my own. I will not put that on you, Tyson. I will figure out what the hell I'm going to do with
I trust you.
Yeah. Well, you should. But there we go, everybody. Thanks for tuning into Boy Green Daily. We'll talk with Connor Long of Instagram. He's a 12-year-old trying to take our jobs, Tyson. He's doing Jets content creation. I joined his show, and I will bring him on the program
12 years
tomorrow.
old.
Unbelievable. Doing Jets content creation. God bless him. Reached out to me somewhere earlier this week. I joined one of his shows. I'm like, holy shit, man. And I just gotta be honest, this is just a funny aside. So like, I'm like, okay, I'm interested to hear the Jets fan 12-year-old perspective because like shit, apparently he has not been alive to see a Jets playoff game, which I just realized, which is kind of funny. But so he goes in there, he's like, man, we got to fire this guy. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
He's ready. He's perfect.
He's been trained well by whoever gave him the misfortune of being a Jets fan. But that was just funny. He was just like, Keith Carter, this guy fucking sucks. And I'm just like, oh my God, holy shit. And all right, this kid's ready. Like you do the ready test. He's like, yes, he's ready. His training is complete. Phenomenal.
When he comes on 12 years old, he's stressed, bags under his eyes. He's
like,
frustrated.
God, I've put 10 years of my life. You're 12 years old. Where did that 10 years go?
Gray hair's coming in already.
Yeah,
he's like the way the world's on his shoulders. He's like, man, this team is killing me. Bro, you're 12.
I was like, what was I doing at 12? Jesus. So there we go. That'll be fun. So we'll have him on the show tomorrow morning. I think I'm joining his show at some point. So we'll catch that as well. Tyson, thanks, brother, man. We'll do this again soon. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:30.